What would you rather, get rejected by that girl or spend the rest of your life wondering if that girl was the one that got away and you never had your opportunity and what your life could have been? We fear rejection, but I think the fear of rejection or the fear of doing something is actually worse than the fear itself a lot of times. Comparison, especially with social media, is so dangerous because we don't have context. You have no context into what everyone's doing. That, and I think we all want the end result, but we don't want to pay the price to get there. I think we want a lot of things, but I think social media has done that, and it's very dangerous because we want things and then we're not willing to pay the price to get there. And even if we were to pay the price to get there, we wouldn't pay the price to stay there. And so we just think we want those things and we work towards it in spite of our own happiness.
If you could go back and talk to your younger self, what is one thing that you would say?
Don't worry, it all works out. It's all gonna be good. I think we have so much fear and we don't take chances, especially when we're younger. Man, I wish I could go back to my teens and 20s and take just more chances. Like, we don't do this. So you're 20 listening right now and you're like, should I go over to that girl? Should I go over to that guy? Should I ask them out? What if they say no? This isn't a fear of mine because I think I found a really great partner. So I don't have this regret, but it's the best example that someone gave me a long time ago. It's like, what would you rather, get rejected by that girl or spend the rest of your life wondering if that girl was the one that got away and you never had your opportunity and what your life could have been? We fear rejection, but I think the fear of rejection or the fear of doing something is actually worse than the fear itself a lot of times. Like, I use this for everything I do. You're going to jump into a cold plunge, for example. You could sit, put your foot in, debate, and talk yourself out of a million different things, or you could just shut up and jump in. You're going to go in anyways. So why go through the mental exercise and the anguish? You're going to go in. You're going to go do it. Just go do it. So I tell myself, don't worry. Like, it doesn't matter. Just go do it. Take those extra chances, roll the dice, like, stop worrying about how everything's going to end up. It's all going to work out.
How you keep your personal and work life separate?
I'll preface this with saying that I'm not perfect. I'm trying to figure out the best ways, and I make mistakes, and sometimes it bleeds over into each one. My belief is that my work life isn't my personal life. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they carry their work problems back into their personal life, or their self-worth is wrapped up into their work. A client leaves them, they feel worthless as a person. It takes a lot of work to realize, but like, a client paid you $50,000 or they walked out on you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me as a person. I go home to an amazing wife and 3 kids. Like, my life goes on. It has nothing to do with my personal worth. And I think a lot of people mix that up. I also believe that if you're an entrepreneur, that there doesn't necessarily have to be a divide, right? My wife is a partner on this journey with me, so she should be involved in understanding what's happening in the business. I think as my kids grow up, I want them to know what's going on. I want them to be part of it. I want them to come with me and hear dad speak on stage, or dad go to an event and learn and become better. Any coach I have to like benefit from that as well. So I think they're part of it. So I don't think there has to be a complete divide, but clients usually don't have my cell phone number. We try to keep that in Slack. I don't really answer emails. Like, everything's in Slack. I have an assistant who manages my email for me. So even now in Slack, I check 3 times a day. If it's important and gets flagged to me, my team knows how to reach me, but we try to keep the channels the same. Like, clients should be speaking to the people doing the work. I'm running a business, right? So I'm not involved in the day-to-day as much anymore. So we try to keep that same, and I put in systems in place to protect those boundaries, right? If you can't do it, and I know that's a weakness of mine, that at 7 p.m. I'm going to want to check what's going on. I put systems in place that I don't have to, that if anything urgent's going to pop up, I'm going to be notified, right, by the people who have direct access to me. So if I don't get notified about something, I know there's no fires, so there's no need for me to check. So you free up the ability to do all that stuff. I'm getting better now, like just leaving my phone away when I get home and just being with the kids as much as possible, trying to do that. Sometimes I go home early and it's smack in the middle of like work stuff, so I have to tie up the loose ends. But yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. But you put in as many boundaries and rules and systems in place to protect it. If it's important to you, you work on it to fix it. And I think every day is a work in progress for me.
What is a business or personal lesson that you think is not talked about enough?
Comparison. I think we watch the Gary V's, we watch the Tony Robbins, we watch our idols. And nowadays, with social media, it's very easy to not see their lives. It used to be you watch them on TV and be like, man, that's cool. Or you go see your your favorite musician and you see them on stage and you're like, that's super cool. I'd love to be on stage one day. And then it ended there. But now you see the highlights of their life. Oh, I would love to be on a private jet sitting there. Oh, I'd love to be at the Super Bowl watching at the 50-yard line like this rock star. Now we're seeing all aspects, and we have these desires that we never really wanted before until we started seeing other people living them, and only the best parts of it, right? They're not showing you, man, they're late in their hotel room, they can't go outside because they have family, they're lonely or whatever, or they're depressed because they feel like no one understands. Like, comparison, especially with social media, is so dangerous because we don't have context. You have no context. So even as a marketer, I used to see other marketers do stuff. I'm like, oh, we should try that. But you don't know, are they testing something that like just crazy idea? Do they have a separate budget? Like, you have no context into what everyone's doing. That, I think we all want the end result, but we don't want to pay the price to get there. And even the ones like the Gary V's, everyone, oh, I'd love to be Gary V. Would you? Would you really? Like, what's his relationship like with his family now? What? I don't know. I'm not judging. I really don't know. But imagine like he doesn't talk to his kids. Imagine like he's divorced now. Like, what? Are you willing to sacrifice those things? So I think we want a lot of things, but I think social media has done that, and it's very dangerous because we want things and then we're not willing to pay the price to get there. And even if we were to pay the price to get there, we wouldn't pay the price to stay there. And so we just think we want those things and we work towards it in spite of our own happiness. And I think that's very dangerous. And I think that's why a lot of people, like, you see it. There's depression, there's mental illness more than ever before, there's anxiety. A 17-year-old kid should not feel anxious. Like, you should not feel anxious at 17. Like, you should be living life and having fun. So I think it's dangerous. At the same time, I love social media, but we have to be aware of comparison. That's definitely not talked about nearly enough.